Hello and welcome to Electronica 2024. Eric Miscoll with Harald from Koh Young Technology here in Europe. Harold, welcome. Thanks for coming by.
Thanks for the invitation. Yep.
We were just talking about all the history here, but specifically this is the 60th anniversary of Electronica, and you've been to some of those.
Yeah, I think I started around mid-80s. So I cannot contribute with the 60s, but that was and very interesting. If you see the history, the changes of electronics, that's what we see on a daily basis. Yeah. Very good to see how much is changing and how much innovation is in this business.
Yeah, I mean, I walked through some of the halls here earlier. I'm just amazed at the variety of the parts and the companies and everything, and from all over the world too.
Yeah. I think the Electronica is really reflecting a kind of mirror of the electronic DNA worldwide. And I heard that they have really more than 3,000 exhibitors. Wow. and all halls are busy. Yeah. So it's really good to be here and to see. And let's also hope that with these signs from us as vendors, the economy really can go on.
Yeah. Well, and we're all waiting for that, right? I mean, it's been a bit of a slow year in the industry, and everybody's hopeful for the future that in 2025 and beyond things pick up.
We need to understand Europe is always conservative and slow, so there's a slowdown and this takes a time and it comes back. We are competitive. That's what we have to see. Europe is not a bad area. Europe is a great area. We have good people. We have qualified people. Mm-hmm. We have high efficiency in our products. So it's not something we have to be shy on and we are not competitive. But I think the most important thing is that we have to learn to stand for what we are doing. So there was a good phrase a long time ago, made in Germany, was a mark for good quality, for excellence. And I think we should come back to this way of thinking because we can do it. And then we have the products, we are respected. And I think it's still in our hands also from both sides, our customers, our clients, or we all as vendors, we have to support and believe in Europe.
Yeah, and that's interesting because I've been touring last week a lot of EMS here, well, mostly in Eastern Europe, but we've toured before in Germany as well. And I see a lot of automation, everything, the drive for automation and more. And there's a hunger for more of it. And obviously what Koh Young sells, the inspection is such a critical component of that.
The inspection is one part, but what we have to understand is that I personally is involved, since I'm in this electronic, I'm involved in this ICT, functional test, AOI, SPI, and I have to say we are focusing too much on the machine itself as the job to detect the defect. The interesting thing is that the manufacturing process, and you raised the automation. Automation is one thing. But a sustainable and a reliable quality is the second aspect of efficiency and profitability and competitiveness. Yeah. So with our tools, the machine itself, combined with the software, we can really analyze the process stability, and we can utilize, from my point of view, with less labor involvement, still a high quality. So the capability to deliver, but also to keep this on a high level and utilizing expensive lines really 24/7 instead of having continuously downtime on machines. I think this is exactly what we have to see. It's not just the machine itself. It's now becomes the software of smart factory. And I was this year invited in a lot of speeches, and my most important goal was you cannot save the world on your own in this business. So the partnership between two vendors, like a printer and an SPI manufacturer, and exchanging the value things between the two machines and do some automated communication. This is exactly what will help us. We are still suffering with labor shortage. We need to have more qualified people. Senior people are phasing out.
Yes.
And the next generation is a good generation. But we are allowed to train on the job for years until we get the responsibility. Now you get the responsibility, you have to do something. And I think this is something has to be compensated. Everybody's talking about AI. But with the tools we can support and upskill people on the line.
Yeah, and that's why with the labor shortage, what we're seeing is what I've seen when I go around is all the increased automation that people are putting in.
Let me say, if you take this point as from the labor shortage, you see that we need to upscale the people. We have to train them better. We have to utilize the limited amount of people,
Yeah.
and this is it is generating efficiency, profitability, and competitiveness in the market, and this helps everybody at the end of the day. So automation on one hand for the workflow, but on the other hand, predictive quality, and even in critical designs, this is what we see, not to utilize the machine, as a database, and as a sensor for quality, and then acting wisely to keep this, to utilize the learning. And here AI and other tools can really help.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting too. What I see a lot is still a lot of pin through hole
Yeah.
in Europe, especially the type of products they're building, the volume, mix ratio that it is. And that's hard to automate sometimes for people. But so you have still need a lot of people on manual insertion, but I know there's a big drive. And then you need to make sure the quality is still good with
Yeah,
that.
there are two aspects. On one hand, there's press fit, which is replacing this high power connector,
Right.
and it's one of the reliable one. And it's like a lot of technologies, it's going up and down, and it disappears and comes back. Especially the e-mobility with high power connectivity is two aspects: press fit, cancel fit, and big pins through hole THT.
Yeah.
And it's always there, and it was always there, and it was not fully disappearing. Especially the mixture that you have high density control, and chip based things,
Yep.
and then you have the power on the other hand,
Yes.
where you need the big wire somehow,
Yeah.
because otherwise you cannot handle this. So this mixture is utilizing again this technology. There's automation, there's a lot of automated soldering, and also the aspect of inspection. It's all our business.
Yeah.
But the mainstream is still the standard PCB. That's overlapping everything.
Almost without fail, with the factories I go into, you can sense that the business has been down this year, right? That it's been low, and for whatever the reasons are, and now it's there's a lot of hope that within the next year that things will start picking up again. What's your view of it?
I can know we are long enough in the business, and it's if you try to find the chart about the economy growth, you will realize that from the last 15, 20 years, it goes like this.
Yeah.
And the dip in 17 and 21 and more, it's on the big picture, it's just a dip.
Just a bit.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's a dip. And we cannot always believe that it's only going in one direction. On the other hand, this kind of scenarios helps a lot to concentrate on the core, because typically people are not sensitive on to focus on the right things, or on to do the right focusing, and focusing know-how, focusing investments, focusing in the right things. And for Europe, and especially for Germany, I would say the mid-size account, mostly private owned, they are the strong pillars in our economy. They are the guys who are reacting wisely. They are not purely finance driven. If investor invests, his purpose is to return the money,
Yeah.
one or the other way.
Right.
And I believe that the philosophy behind in these mid-sized companies, and there are big private owned companies, but the decision process, the action, and the focus to make things happen. Because the slowdown I see today is homemade. We believe it's very bad. We cannot say it's super good.
Yeah.
We are used to different. But on the other hand, if you see how much production lines in the last 3 years after COVID has been built up and recovered, it's not so bad also in Europe. But we cannot compete with China. We cannot compete in Europe with the company sizes like also in America or in Mexico. But I think this mixture is the value of Europe. We are much more flexible. We could apply much more dynamic in adapting the market. But from my opinion, governments are in charge. They need to support, and this is, I think, one of the most topics what this industry also needs. We need the proper support and the environment to grow. So that's the chance for Europe.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. Last thing I wanted to ask you about too is I know that within Koh Young you also have in the semiconductor area as well, related industry, but kind of not directly as you've been doing. How is that? And I know even here at Electronica, you're represented in both places.
We have a second booth here in C2, and it's, by the way, a bigger one than in the Electronica. We are working on the semicon as a company since a few years, but it was mainly a product for Asia and maybe a little bit in US. But due to the CHIP Act and the supply chain topics we faced, it was very clear that there was a demand and a change. And with this change, there was going a lot of money into the market. And the CHIP Act in US, the CHIP Act in Europe was more or less the same time frame. But now we see production in US, but we still don't see the production in Europe. And this is something why it's slower. And we had an enthusiasm start in 2 years ago, and now it's slowed down. The big investment, TSMC, Infineon, they're all slowing down a little bit, more careful. This has the impact also in because we expected that it becomes more stronger in a shorter time frame. I still believe this is the future because we all know that we have to get independent somehow. And so that's the reason why we have the two booths. And there is a good chance for Europe to enter this business. It's not impossible.
Right. No, I'm nothing but impressed when I come to Europe for the companies I meet, the technologists, and the quality of the people who are making the decisions and managing it. And you echo that as well in your comments. And so I think you're right. It's tough times, but the future hopefully starts improving, and Europe will continue to thrive. So, Harald, thank you for your time. Thanks for taking time here today.
Of course.
Enjoy. Good luck with the show.
Thank you.